Hello everyone, welcome back. Y&R Spoilers. New Year 2026 on the Young and the Restless doesn't arrive with fireworks or easy blessings. It arrives like a slammed door and a warning siren. The danger is immediate and personal. Nick steps into a bargain with a villain everyone knows can't be trusted, Matt Clark, and the price of that deal may not be money at all, but the lives and futures of Sienna and Noah. From what's being teased, Nick has actively sought Matt out and put a staggering offer on the table, an almost unimaginable payout meant to buy Sienna's freedom. But the very act of offering money to darkness opens a terrifying question. Once a father starts negotiating with evil, does he ever get to return to normal rules again? What makes this situation explode is the way Nick is forced to play a hand that is both cold and desperate. He knows Matt isn't the kind of man who needs money to survive. Matt wants money to win, to prove he can bend other people's morals until they snap. So Nick doesn't show up with cash alone. He shows up with a message that he'll do anything to bring Sienna back. In that moment, Nick is gambling with his own identity. If he softens, Matt will taste weakness. If he hardens, Matt will interpret it as war. And the sick truth is that Matt knows how to turn both into leverage. Some recaps even suggest Nick has become more physically aggressive with Matt, as if fear could pin him down. But fear doesn't always stop a predator, it can also wake the predator up. New Year 2026 in Genoa City doesn't open with gentle wishes, but with the feeling that every relationship is standing on a hairline crack of glass, waiting for one touch to shatter. And at the center of that crack is Sally, a woman who seemed to have found a temporary harbor beside Billy, only to be pulled back into the storm by the one name she has never truly healed from, Adam. Meanwhile, Victor's shadow covers everything like a silent war machine, because he has pushed his tech-driven offensive even further, ordering Adam to trigger a strike powerful enough to collapse everything Sally is trying to build with her talent and pride. From a distance, people might assume this is just a classic soap collision. Adam runs into Sally again. Old feelings surge and Billy gets shoved to the sidelines. But once you connect what's actually happening, the story turns much colder. Because this rupture doesn't begin with romantic betrayal, it begins with the fear of being crushed by power and media manipulation. The very weapons Victor has always known how to use to force others to breathe to his rhythm. The weekly developments make it clear Victor isn't merely angry. He has locked the gears into place, officially instructing Adam to carry out an attack with far-reaching consequences. And once those gears start turning, Sally feels it first. Every effort she has made to stand upright as an independent woman is suddenly turned into a target in a war she never asked to join. That is why Sally slips into a state of rage and exhaustion at the same time. Wounded so deeply, she feels drained to the bone. She doesn't just see career risk. She sees a familiar loop closing around her again. Every time Victor strikes, Adam gets pulled in, and she is always the nearest person to absorb the fallout. Adam may tell himself he was only following orders, that Victor's media assault or strategic hit wouldn't touch Sally this much. But the reality is that when Sally looks around and feels instability tightening like a noose, she can't separate business from the heart. To her, this isn't merely a dirty campaign, it's proof that she is still living inside the Newman orbit, where everything can be controlled from above, and where she will always be forced to prove she is worthy, strong enough, immune enough to survive blows she never created. Right then, the fierce clash between Sally and Adam becomes the ignition point. Spoilers have emphasized that Sally and Adam are being forced to face their complicated history, wounds that have never truly closed, and the sensation that they've been thrown into the same emotional room with no door out. Sally stops hiding what she thinks. She turns her honesty into a blade, not to humiliate Adam, but to protect herself from the one thing she fears most, softening, because she knows exactly where her weakness lies. They once loved each other in a way that could burn down the world, and they also walked through a loss too heavy to name lightly. When that memory floods back, Sally doesn't only remember love, she remembers pain, and she fears the feeling of being swept away again more than she fears being alone. Adam, trying to repair the damage, slides into a dangerous kind of confusion. He wants to explain that he never expected Victor's strike to hit Sally so deeply. He wants to prove he is still the person who understands her best. But Adam's understanding becomes a twisting knife. The more he gets it, the more he drags the past into the present, the more he tries to heal, the more he forces the wound back to the surface. And Adam can't deny the one truth that makes every apology feel weak is still inside Victor's system. And his recent choices are exactly the kind that make Sally look at him and feel uneasy. The weekly developments show Victor is willing to use every tool, including AI, to suffocate opponents, meaning that even if Adam wants to stay out of it, he can't keep his hands clean. While Sally and Adam are trapped inside a vortex of memory and consequences, Billy stands on the edge of a particular kind of tragedy, the tragedy of a man who believes he is being chosen, when in reality he may only be temporarily housed inside someone else's heart. The most frightening thing isn't Sally openly ending the relationship, it's the possibility that she turns away with a cold retreat, transforming Billy into a witness instead of a partner. Recent commentary and recaps have raised that exact suspicion. Does Sally truly love Billy? Or is she gripping him as an escape route from the Newman past? And if that's the case, then all it takes is Adam appearing at the right time for the foundations Billy trusts to start shaking. Billy could face terrible failure not only because he loses Sally, but because he loses faith in the way he has understood the world he has always believed. He recognizes Sally's pain and defiance, believed he could offer her a future that won't be swallowed by the Newman machine. But the moment Victor attacks and Adam steps forward, Billy is forced to realize how easily history can crush the present. So the threat to Billy doesn't come from a simple love triangle. It comes from Sally being pushed into a state where she must choose between two different kinds of safety. With Billy, Sally has a relatively steady peace, a sense of being respected as a woman standing on her own feet. Yet that peace is fragile, because it rests on the foundation of a power war Billy cannot stop Victor from waging. With Adam, Sally faces the eye of the storm and her own wounds head-on. But there is another danger. Adam feels like the only person who truly understands the darkest part of her, who understands how she once loved and how she once lost. And that feeling is easily addictive, because when someone is attacked again and again, they often return to the place that once made them feel most alive, even if it is also the place that hurt them the most. If Adam genuinely tries to make peace, New Year 2026 will corner Sally into a decision that feels like ice on the spine. Will she choose a peace that could collapse at any moment, or the familiar storm that still carries undeniable pull? Spoilers have emphasized that Sally and Adam will share moments of looking back, meaning old wounds aren't being reopened to end, they're being reopened to test whether they still want to step back into each other. And for Billy, one moment like that is enough to turn him into the one who takes the hit. He may do nothing wrong and still lose everything, because the fight was never fair to begin with. The cruelest part is that even if Sally never betrays Billy in the ordinary sense, Billy can still feel betrayed, because he understands something brutal. Love isn't only choice, it's momentum. If Sally turns back toward Adam, it may not be because she wants to hurt Billy, but because she can't endure fighting alone against Victor's blows and the collateral damage Adam carries. But if Sally stays with Billy, she has to live with the fear that Victor will strike again, and this time, Billy will be the one who breaks first. Every relationship carries risk. The difference is only where that risk comes from, an enemy outside or a wound within. And here is the true hook dragging viewers into 2026. Adam may believe he can fix everything with an apology and one sincere attempt at reconciliation, without realizing Victor has accidentally turned Sally into a battlefield. If Sally softens, Billy loses. If Sally hardens, Sally herself will be exhausted. And if Sally tries to escape both men just to preserve herself, that would be the biggest shock of all. Billy takes the worst defeat. Adam loses his chance to redeem himself, and Victor still wins because he has destroyed their trust. So the question viewers won't be able to look away from is this: in the moment Sally turns her back, is she turning away from Billy or turning away from herself? Because she's terrified that if she looks at Adam one more time, the entire past will swallow the present right at the edge of the new year. While Nick fights to look controlled, Noah is the one who can smell disaster coming. His anxiety isn't only about where Sienna is, it's about what Nick is handing Matt by playing along. A chance to drag their whole family past the point of no return. The spoilers emphasize that Noah is deeply rattled and terrified for Sienna's safety, because he understands this isn't a simple kidnap for cash and release scenario. Noah fears his father has made a catastrophic mistake. If Nick pays without securing Sienna, he loses all leverage. But even if Nick keeps leverage, another blade hangs in the air. Will Matt ever honor his word? And if he doesn't, what does Nick become next in order to keep his son from watching him collapse? The most chilling part is that Matt himself seems to confirm his nature out loud, in a way that makes your blood run cold. The spoilers indicate Matt confides in Detective Annie Stewart that he isn't sure he'll return Sienna even if he gets the money, and he goes further, threatening that he could take Noah's life. That turns this from a transaction into psychological terrorism. Matt isn't bargaining, he's feeding on their fear. He wants Nick and Noah to live sleepless, to imagine the worst, to question every choice they make. If I move wrong, does she die? If I hesitate, is he next? And when Matt admits this to Annie, he isn't just bragging, he's testing loyalty and weakness, feeling out how far a potential ally can be pulled into his orbit. Because standing close to someone like Matt People don't always realize when cooperating to survive becomes betraying to profit. On Sienna's side, the story is horrifying precisely because it doesn't need many details to be unbearable. There are hints and images suggesting Sienna is unconscious, possibly druggedly helpless, while Matt and Annie calculate their next move. That detail transforms the plot from someone being held into something darker. Sienna is being stripped of agency, reduced to a tool Matt uses to control the heartbeat of the entire Newman family. And when a victim can't cry out, every rescue decision becomes riskier. Move too fast and you trigger retaliation. Move too slowly and you lose her. Choose the wrong angle and you walk straight into the trap. This is where the biggest 2026 tension snaps into place. Is Nick truly alone? The answer seems to be no, because the show is teasing Victor stepping in to help Nick plan how to deal with Matt. And the moment Victor enters the board, the rules change. Victor doesn't negotiate to compromise, negotiates to locate the weakness and end the threat. For Victor, finish this once and for all isn't a dramatic phrase, it's a method. But Victor's involvement also creates a brutal paradox. The more final the plan, the greater the risk to Sienna. The harder the strike, the more reason Matt has to use Noah as a sacrifice on his way out. So the coming showdown, Matt versus Nick versus Victor, won't be just a confrontation. It will be a test of what this family is willing to trade. Nick wants the fastest path to Sienna, but the fastest path is often the trap. Victor wants to rip Matt out by the roots, but cornering a man like Matt can push him to strike first. And Noah stands in the middle, both the reason Nick refuses to break and the weakness Matt keeps stabbing. Matt has already put it into words: Noah might not survive. That means Matt has already imagined an ending where he escapes and still leaves behind a wound that never heals. What will be most compelling isn't only whether Sienna is rescued, it's the moment Nick is forced to decide who he is in 2026, a father who tries to buy safety with money, or a man willing to set a trap and end the nightmare even if it stains his hands. Because the cruel twist is this: just when Nick believes the huge payout can control the situation, reality slaps him. Matt doesn't need money to stop. He needs money to keep hunting. And when Victor begins to move, the story shifts from bargaining to sentencing. And Matt understands that better than anyone, which gives him every reason to strike in the most ruthless way possible, to prove he still controls Noah's breathing and Sienna's fate. And that is the hook dragging viewers into the new year. If Matt has openly admitted he may betray the deal and has threatened to kill Noah, then his next step won't be words, it will be an action brutal enough to force Nick into an impossible choice. When Victor and Nick finally unite, they will build a trap that Matt can't ignore. But will that trap be designed to capture Matt? Or will it accidentally turn Sienna into the ultimate collateral damage? And if Matt anticipates their plan, how will he retaliate to make the Newmans understand one terrifying truth about 2026? Nobody walks out of this war untouched.